Alrighty, well, good evening, everybody. As always, I am your beautiful host, Billy Reed, here once again for another riveting installment of Let's Talk Dinosaurs, episode 13 now, and as always, I'm joined by these wombats here. Please tell them who you are in case 13 episodes in they don't know you.
I'm Kirsten.
I'm Charlie.
And a returning guest host from Season 1, in case you guys remember our Raptor episode. Please introduce yourself, good sir.
My name is Brad, also known as the Indo-Brad, and the spokesperson for Gen Z.
So he knows
The Gen Z
everything. He
screaming.
knows everything about Kirsten's people.
Yes. I understand them on a deep level.
The deep level.
The deepest.
Not a
of
deep level. The
You
deep
stayed in their
level.
natural habitat.
They need T-posing habitats.
Yeah, where they get three
call this
three fidget spinners a day, and make sure they have access to something they can play Fortnite on.
I'm triggered. I just want to let everyone know that. I'm very triggered.
I wake
pass
up
a lawsuit.
and I'm triggered. I brush
Okay,
my
well,
teeth
go
and
make a
I'm triggered.
Tumblr post about it. I don't know, what's the Gen Z social media?
Y'all are the reason.
It's the
Twitter
black
expanded
screen
word
on
count.
Snapchat. The black screen on Snapchat with the I'm sad.
Can we
Like,
start
I'm sad on it.
a Let's Talk Dinosaur MySpace page?
Well, you know, we're not Amish, so no, not particularly.
You're a little late for that.
It just starts playing the Jurassic Park
have
theme in the background.
The courage that you don't have, Billy. We can do it.
Is MySpace even still a thing?
I think
Yes,
Justin
it still
Timberlake bought it.
exists.
Well,
me.
anyway, so let's go ahead and dive right into our topic for this evening. This is an idea that came to us from our very own Charles Edmund Sandifer over here.
That's not my middle name.
Well, anyway, a few weeks ago, he came up with this brilliant idea of why don't we talk about Ice Age mammals and dinosaurs and who would win in a fight? But he made it sound a lot more sciencey than that.
I stole it from a Scholastic book in a book fair.
There's no shame in that.
A little bit.
No, I'm just glad that Scholastic book fairs are still.
Oh,
a thing,
no.
But
They're beautiful.
1996 is a Gen Z cutoff. I'm Gen Z. No.
that means I'm Gen Z too. So
No.
eh.
No.
I'll represent you in court.
It's wrong. But anyway, so let's get into our first bit tonight. So how this is going to work is we're going to have a dinosaur and an animal from the Ice Age, and we're going to talk about them like we normally do, and then at the end we're going to go around here and talk about who we think would win. So let's get into our first one for the evening. This is a pretty basic one. We've got the Smilodon, aka the saber-toothed tiger, versus the Deinonychus, which is a species of raptor that we've talked about in the past. So most of these dinosaurs we've actually talked about before, so I'm going to try not to dwell on them too much because a couple of them in here we talked about not but a couple weeks ago, so I'm going to try not to dwell on them too much. But first things first, the Smilodon. So this is a prehistoric cat from the Ice Age. Now, it might be commonly known as the saber-toothed tiger, but it's not actually a tiger at all. They belong to their own family of cats that went extinct towards the end of the Ice Age.
The John Cena family on WWE tonight against the Raptor. And good luck to any Raptor standing in his way.
Raptor Randy Savage.
Oh, yeah! Snap into a Slim Jim!
Bonesaw is ready.
But anyway,
Okay, fine.
Okay, Smilodon.
so the Smilodons were pretty widely spread through back in their day. They lived all throughout North and South America, even lived here in Indiana. Ice Age bones preserved here pretty well.
Those Hoosier boys.
Finally, we get our
Yeah.
moment.
Well, a lot of Ice Age fossils have been found here in Indiana. Like, we have mammoths and mastodons that get found up north all the time. And I talked about this a few weeks ago, but the dire wolf was actually discovered in Evansville. And believe it or not, it was first discovered... yes, that too. Yeah, to all you Game of Thrones fans out there, yes, dire wolves were an actual thing. But the first specimen of dire wolf was discovered in Evansville, Indiana, after its skull was fished out of the Ohio River.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
that's pleasant.
good
Just
place for
out
it.
enjoying some bass fishing and you reel in a giant wolf skull. That's... Why not? Why not?
Every Sunday.
Yep. Old Brandy.
Fido, is that you?
Legs on
Lassie foot on the wall,
Scoob.
guys.
Who did this to you?
I might have to unleash a tenth of my power. But anyway,
Best meme.
so the defining feature of the Smilodon are, of course, its giant canine teeth. It's where it gets its common name from. This thing's canine teeth are 11 inches long. So for... This is a family show!
And Star Trek isn't.
What does that have to do with anything?
That was that one guy on it, George Takei. Oh
Yeah.
my.
George Takei is
George
a very
Takei. I
family-friendly
love
figure.
George
You
Takei.
talking about the guy from the Taco Bell commercials?
Yes, that's also him.
So yeah, it's canines.
But anyway, yes, very big teeth. So for a creature only about the size of a modern-day tiger, its canine teeth were about as big as that of a T-Rex. So you probably wouldn't want to get bit by one of those. It could probably make a pretty nasty wound. But anyway, like I said before, they were about the size of a modern-day tiger. So we're looking at about 600 pounds. So a pretty hefty boy.
Big boy.
Standing at about 11 feet long and at about 4 feet tall at the shoulders. Very large creature indeed.
It's at least this big. I'm sorry. Y'all got quiet at the wrong moment right there.
Tell us about its swole arms.
But anyway, these guys were the apex predators back in their day. They would have shared their environment with dire wolves and other predators, but not much would have gotten in these things' way. So preserved DNA from specimens of Smilodon that were found in tar pits, like DNA that was caked in their claws and in their teeth, suggests that these things hunted buffaloes and camels.
Pretty different.
So,
different
in
in the spectrum.
camels back in the Ice Age, same for buffaloes, were a lot bigger than the camels and buffaloes we have today, which are in and of themselves pretty large. And to make this even scarier, scientists have been debating this for a while, but as of right now, there's no hard evidence to suggest that Smilodon hunted in packs. So these things hunted by themselves and brought down creatures like buffaloes and camels.
Ice Age predicted that. I just want to say that for a fact.
They hunted in packs in Ice Age. 'cause
They did.
there was-
Ice Age predicted it.
Ice Age predicted.
Diego, where's the baby?
You know,
Ray Romano predicted it himself.
yeah, did you know that the crazy tiger in Ice Age, the little scrawny one, is voiced by Jack Black?
I did not know
I
that.
love Jack Black. I love his gaming channel.
What a legend.
He has a gaming channel.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know about Jablinski games?
No.
He hasn't played a single game yet.
Okay,
but
you know, why do all
Eventually.
YouTube gaming channels have to have gibberish names?
'Cause I feel
In his
like it.
defense,
Oh,
he hasn't
wow.
gamed yet.
Let's Talk Dino should start a gaming channel.
Yeah, no, we shouldn't.
Top 10 Fortnite answers, guys.
We're not starting a gaming channel. I'm not selling
too late.
out.
It's already created
I'm
one
not
right now.
selling
Selling
out.
out. I refuse to sell out.
I'm not going to become the Logan Paul of IUS, okay?
We're called Jake Paul.
Pass booty pie.
Ew, no. I don't want that on my resume. So anyway, the Smilodon was built a lot more robustly than modern-day big cats, even more so than modern-day tigers, which are the biggest cats alive today. Its forelimbs and its neck in particular are very muscular, so if you got, like, slashed by this thing, that would obviously hurt, but it would probably send you flying, because their front legs are so jacked.
He's an absolute unit.
Absolute unit right here. This, like John Cena wishes he was as buff as your average.
Probably his
Ice
idol.
Age cat.
Probably his idol. What he aspires to be.
Got like a shrine to like Smilodon in his house.
He
Like,
does.
so pure.
Teach me your secrets.
So John Cena, confirmed, is a closeted Smilodon furry.
All right. It's on the air.
I love it. It's out
We're
there.
calling you out, John Cena.
If you don't respond, it means it's true.
But anyway, we don't really know this for a fact, but comparing this thing to modern-day tigers that it was about the same size of, it's estimated that the Smilodon could have bit down with about 1,000, maybe a little bit more, PSI. So
pretty good.
those giant dagger teeth combined with 1,000 PSI would have hurt.
Yeah, would have hurt. That's all we're giving.
Yeah, it would totally hurt. I don't know.
It would rip them to shreds.
I mean, look, it might feel good. I'm sure somebody somewhere
Ooh,
is
that has a
into
good
that,
massage right there, you know?
Oh yeah, nice massage.
Thanks for breaking my arm with your mouth. I'm sorry.
Welcome to the Smilodon Experience Spa.
It's acupuncture.
but their only
a much bigger
client
hole.
is John
Good.
Cena.
That's a good one.
5 stars.
But anyway,
by John Cena.
So, the Smilodon's opponent, playing for the Mesozoic team here, we've got the Deinonychus, a species of raptor that we've talked about before. As far as raptors go, Deinonychus is a middleweight, about 11 feet long, 4 feet tall, and weighing about 160 pounds, so much lighter than its feline combatant here.
That boy's a string bean.
Yep. A regular
He's
string.
got it where it counts, buddy. He's got the heart in the fight.
Yeah.
He's not going to win, Charlie.
I know. I'm against him already.
But anyway, so the Deinonychus, though, did have very muscular legs. They could move it at pretty good speeds. It would definitely have the speed and agility advantage here because it could move at about 40 miles per hour. So that's pretty fast, pretty fast. Tweet at us if you are not faster than a Deinonychus. But
Good
no,
one.
please
Good
don't.
one.
Calling you out, Yubel.
Ooh.
But anyway, for a raptor, the Deinonychus also had pretty strong jaws. Pretty uncharacteristic of raptors because their teeth were just meant to make big bleeding wounds. But it could bite down with about 1,800 psi, so that wouldn't feel good either. It also had blade-like serrated teeth that could make big bleeding gashes, and its greatest weapon, its 4-inch long killing claw that it has on each foot. These things are meant for more close-range attacks, just to make those big slashing wounds where it matters most. So, alright, so the combatants are in place. Let's just go ahead and say the Smilodon has this one in the
I
bag.
think it's the fur. Because that's
Well,
what the problem is.
I will say that-
Teeth can't get through the fur.
Well, I mean, we don't really know how thick the fur coat would have been, but
I
like,
also
the
read
thing
that,
is that
Smilodon was commonly known to use ambush tactics, so that could work
well,
pretty well for the
raptors
companion.
might have done that too.
It could have, yeah.
Some people believe that raptors could have used their claws to climb up trees and
Yeah.
hidden like low-hanging tree branches and jump down.
I've heard it also
Scariest
could like
thing.
pin it with its killing claw. I've seen the
It could,
images of
but
that.
the Smilodon is just so jacked that I don't know.
I would
Bats
say
aside.
Yeah,
it's Deinonychus,
Look
right?
at Smilodon!
Deinonychus, that's
Smash it in the
Deinonychus?
side.
Deinonychus.
Okay, Deinonychus.
Just, like,
I think the only
bangs
thing
it.
it has going for it is that it can run really fast.
Yeah, it's faster.
But if
That
it
is
was
a
like
big claw.
if it was face to face,
Give me, like,
It's
with your
pretty
hand, how big that claw is.
I mean, like, yay big, maybe?
That's a pretty big claw.
but the
Pretty
teeth
large.
are like
You can just run around. Are we going to the impression that dinosaurs are cold-blooded or warm-blooded?
Let's just not talk about that.
It's a tough issue.
Well,
Let's just say they're fighting in a room temperature facility.
all right.
Not fighting in the cold north.
What is your vote, Billy?
I have to give it to the Smilodon because I think it's just too muscular and too bulky, and those teeth, like, if it got its mouth around the Deinonychus's neck, it's done for.
Yeah.
So that's what I have to.
All right,
It's my
Charlie?
2 cents here.
why are you dictating this?
I don't know.
I don't know. Smilodon all the way, because the name and because he's warm-blooded.
And he's also Dennis Leary, so
And John Cena.
Dennis Leary cannot die unless it's Amazing Spider-Man 1. So, you know.
All right, my vote is also the Smilodon. I just
Right.
think the only thing it has going for it, the Deinonychus, is that it goes fast.
Just zooms.
That's all it's got.
I'm gonna go with my saber-tooth god brand.
Smilodon wins all around.
Okay,
Ding, ding,
so
ding.
the motion is passed unanimously. So next up here, this is kind of a weird one, but you know, I had to do it anyway because this was just too much fun to research. So next up here, we got the Styracosaurus versus the woolly rhino.
All right.
So we talked about
Oh, yeah.
Styracosaurus not too long ago. But the woolly rhino was the last rhino of the Ice Age. You see, rhinos first showed up during the Ice Age. When they first showed up, they were these giant abominations that looked like a cross between a modern-day rhino and a giraffe. The biggest rhino ever was called Paraceratherium, and it stood at about 19 feet tall.
Oh,
So,
That's
my lord.
intimidating.
yeah, rhinos were...
yeah, just
Rhinos were a lot more diverse back in the Ice Age, but that all kind of came to an end with the woolly rhino, which is pretty much the precursor to the modern rhino, because other than its thick fur coat to keep it warm, it doesn't have a lot to differentiate it from a modern day rhino. It's about the same size, but a little bit more robust, a little bit more muscular. It's estimated that these things weighed about 2...
The swole boys of the north.
Charlie, what was that?
I said, look at those muscles on that
Well, yeah, she
picture.
can see it. She's got an outline, too.
I was pointing it out.
But anyway...
I can't see anything, so.
But anyway,
Charlie helps me sometimes.
They are very jacked, but it's estimated that they weighed about 2.5 tons. So pretty hefty creatures right there. So the giant horn on the end of their nose, which would be undoubtedly their most valuable asset in combat, stands at about 2 feet in length. So pretty big, but compared to other Ice Age rhinos, that's nothing. There was another rhino that I found. I forget the name, but its horn was about 6 feet long. So there were a lot of other scarier Ice Age rhinos.
That was
Like
Rhino
one whole
Chad.
Charlie right there.
But anyway, in terms of speed, we're looking at about a carbon copy of a modern-day white rhino. So basing this off of what modern-day white rhinos in Africa can do, we're looking at a thing that can run at about 30 miles per hour. So probably not very agile. It probably couldn't zigzag like a velociraptor or an ostrich or something more lightly built, but it could do a lot of damage in the direction it was heading in. So the woolly rhino is no pushover, to say the least. But let's move on here to our saurian challenger. Now, we talked about this one a few weeks ago. The Styracosaurus, a ceratopsian dinosaur, the same family as Triceratops. This thing comes in at about 20 feet long and weighing about 3 tons. It's got a big spiky frill over its neck for extra defense. That wouldn't come in handy against a rhino, really, because that's more to defend it from things that are biting down at it. But it also has a giant horn on the end of its nose. It's about 3 feet long, so slightly longer than the rhinos. It can also run at speeds about 30 miles per hour, so about as fast, but I don't think it would be agile either. So, honestly, these two are pretty evenly matched, if I do say so myself.
No contest.
Yeah, but the saurian,
The Styracosaurus.
the Styracosaurus, that one, it does have a slight advantage in weight and length in that horn.
Yeah, that
And
it does.
speed.
Now, the rhino, though, being a mammal, typically have larger brains than dinosaurs, I believe. So I feel like it has more of an intelligence advantage.
Well, modern-day rhinos are pretty stupid.
No, they still have a bigger brain, though, compared to dinosaurs, though.
Not really.
Have you seen Black Panther? They just charge forward
That was an awesome scene.
Well, you know,
and get
Modern-
cut down by the men of
If we're going
Wakanda.
with a dinosaur cold-blooded thing, then definitely the rhinos have advantage on that point.
well, we're not doing
He's just
the
like-
cold-blooded,
he's
warm-blooded thing.
Now, the Styracosaurus have the ball joint in the head like Triceratops did.
That's very true.
They did it?
Most
Okay.
ceratopsians did, yeah.
That's a little bit different right there. That's a pretty good advantage right there.
So its head would be a little bit more mobile than the rhino, because rhinos don't really have much of a neck. So,
Yeah, it's just it goes
It's just a
into
thick-
its back.
Yeah.
Muscle.
So a rhino is basically like a living battering ram, but
Pretty
Yeah.
good.
the Styracosaurus would be a little
Break
bit
the
more
gate.
mobile. So I don't know. I might give it to the Styracosaurus.
I disagree. I'm going with the woolly rhino.
Why?
Well, hold up. You didn't justify yours.
He came
first
up with
off.
the Ice Age
I
idea.
said it was probably more. It probably would have had a little bit
I
more
feel like
agility and a
on
little bit
a
more mobility.
I think mine's the exact same, but for the opposite reason. Because I feel like being more warm-blooded and having a different type of heart probably compared to dinosaurs, I feel like it had more of an advantage right there.
Okay. Even though we're not doing the warm-blooded, cold-blooded thing, as I've
No,
said
no, no.
3
But the
million
heart
times.
shapes, though. Heart shapes, though.
Okay,
We
moving
assumed
on.
that-
This is Kingdom Hearts right now.
Yeah, this is Kingdom Hearts. Nothing makes sense, and
And the
whatever.
neck makes it more susceptible to neck injuries. So
Charlie, you say one more
Triceratops.
stupid thing, and I'm going to spoil Kingdom Hearts 3.
I don't play Kingdom
Don't
Hearts
you
thing.
dare, Billy.
Do it.
Oh no! All the fans are listening. I'm going to say it right now.
Jafar's in it.
Okay, Kirsten, please.
I'm going with Styracosaurus.
Cowards.
It's obvious. It obviously has an advantage that the woolly rhino doesn't.
And it's also a little bit bigger too.
Yeah.
Size doesn't matter. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna do this.
Okay, Brad, what about you?
Family show.
You know, on one level,
Okay.
you know, on the practical level, I think the ceratopsian would probably win, but just to be a jerk, I'm going to say the woolly rhino to make
Yes!
it a tie.
Well, mammals are stupid, so
You're a mammal.
yeah, we don't deserve this world, man.
You want to mammal red pandas, and they do deserve this world.
That's true.
They're beautiful creatures.
Okay. Oh man, let's get into a weird one.
All right,
I've
let's
been
do
looking
it.
forward to this.
It's no contest on this one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
It's just that tongue right there.
But anyway, let's get into this. The giant ground sloth versus the Therizinosaurus. So we haven't talked about either of these before, so we got a lot of ground to cover here.
I want to
Right.
ride
What you
a
see-
ground sloth in a battle.
What you see, little known fact about sloths is sloths first showed up during the Ice Age, right? And when they first came on the scene, sloths were basically the elephants of their
They
ecosystem.
were the apex predator.
No, they were still pacifists.
Their eyes
who-
face forward. Sorry.
They were still pacifists who ate snow, but
It was Ellen Gigantosaurus. She
But-
ran her own talk show.
sloths were gigantic, and the biggest sloth of all was the Megatherium. So, Megatheriums actually do have their hat in the ring when it comes to pop culture, because old, Sid the Sloth from Ice Age is meant to be a Megatherium, but he is nowhere as big as the real ones, because in real life, Sid and Manny should really be about the same size. Because
Oh wow.
it's true, because the Megatherium, which is what Sid is based on, is one of the largest land mammals to ever live.
Wow.
When it stands on two legs, this thing stands at 20 feet tall. So that's a big boy. That's very huge. Huge. I'm gonna build a sloth. But anyway, this thing also weighs about 4 tons. And its skeleton is very robust. Its bones are super thick, so it's estimated that this thing must have been very, very muscular, especially in the arms. But that's believed to be more so for bringing down trees and branches to eat rather than being a defense mechanism. But we can't ignore that this thing had these foot-long claws on each hand. And in a pinch, those could definitely be an effective weapon, even though they were more so used for, scraping leaves off of tree branches and stuff. So, while the giant ground sloth may have been a pacifist, you really would not have wanted to make one mad.
Gotcha.
But at the end of the day, a sloth will be a sloth. And it's estimated that they were more than likely very slow. Not
Slow to
really,
anger.
not really made to run.
Still a force of nature.
So, I wouldn't go near one. It's a 20-foot sloth monster.
The mountain is still intimidating, no matter what.
But anyway, let's move on to our Mesozoic challenger here. This one, oh man, I've been wanting to talk about this dinosaur for a while. The Therizinosaurus. That name means the scythe lizard. So this thing is a very bizarre theropod dinosaur.
It looks really
it comes
weird.
from it comes from the same family as T-Rex, believe it or not. It's a theropod.
Really?
So it's in the same
Interesting.
grouping of theropods that T-Rex is, the Coelurosaurs. So this thing is actually only a few notches removed from the T-Rex. So the Therizinosaur
It's its
family
weird cousin.
Yeah, this
It's
is
the Brandine. Hey, cousin T-Rex.
that's like the guy who shows the family reunion. You're like, man, something seems off about Uncle Bug this year.
Bug.
You think he turned funny?
He hasn't clipped his toenails in weeks.
He expired.
But anyway, so the Therizinosaur family was the only family of theropods which were exclusively herbivorous. They only ate plants. But the Therizinosaurus was the largest of the Therizinosaur family, and it was huge. This thing comes in at 30 feet long and 20 feet tall. It has that very long, thin neck, kind of like an ostrich, to help it reach the tops of trees to get leaves. And not unlike the giant ground sloth, it does have a very bulky body, so it probably wasn't made to run, because it also had very, very short legs, too, given the rest of this thing. But its defining feature comes with its arms. Its arms are 6 feet long, and on each arm, it's got these 3-foot long claws on each arm, which were more than likely made to like the ground sloth to help it pick leaves off of tree branches and stuff. But in a pinch, they could definitely do well as a defense mechanism, largely because Therizinosaurus shared an environment with the Tarbosaurus that we talked about last week, which was the T-Rex's echo fighter. So,
What was its final smash? Tell me.
I don't know. I don't know. Probably the Mario one. The one that you can just jump over. But anyway, so when push came to shove, I guarantee those claws could have made a pretty nasty wound on any predator that was willing to get in this thing's way. So we have our combatants ready to go here. We have a battle of the big slow boys.
Big slow boys.
They're just
So,
gonna take a nap. They're not gonna fight.
Yeah, no.
Sleep off.
On top of that, I think this fight would have to take 30 minutes.
Yeah, it would take a while.
It'd be 15.
Solid movie, I
It would
must
be
say.
15 minutes before one of them actually made a punch.
It's just an episode of Dragon Ball Z. They spend the whole 30 minutes powering up.
Oh, we're gonna get a noise complaint. Don't be the reason we get another warning. The first one was Kirsten's fault.
It always comes up
Hey.
every single time.
Hey, be kind to Gen Z.
Thank you.
They're going to be
Thank
taking
you.
care of you in
Billy,
the
don't
nursing
attack
home,
my
Billy.
people.
Charlie, we are not Gen Z. You hear me?
I don't know who I am anymore.
We're gonna join my imaginary generation, Generation Durf.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't like that name.
Well, I do.
Generation Smurf.
I like that name. I like that name.
Let's go with that.
No. No
Use
Smurfs.
Just a
Smurf
bunch
as
of blue
adjectives.
balls.
This is a no Smurf zone. There are no Smurfs allowed on Horizon Radio. I'm gonna pass that on to
Sounds like
Matt.
communism to me.
Keep getting political. First it was about
You think
blood
the
versus
Smurfs are
cold-blooded.
communists? I can write a term paper
So who
on
would
this.
win?
So anyway,
Oh no, my mic. I can't silence the people.
yes I can. But anyway. So the giant ground sloth and the Therizinosaurus. This is a tough one because, I mean, they're both big and fat and slow. So
All right. Great resume.
yeah, they're both big, fat,
Fat,
slow,
slow.
and have giant, swole arms to help them get branches down. So honestly, they wouldn't even fight. They would just go eat a tree together.
That's so true.
Friendship is magic, guys.
It is.
But it's no
Charlie,
contest.
are you a brownie?
What?
It's pronounced
brony?
brony.
Oh gosh, no! Please,
I am Gopran.
I'm not. I wish I was a brownie. That'd be delicious. No, not a brony. I'm not a brony.
What's our votes on this?
So
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
I think I'll start us off here. You know, this is kind of a toss-up.
I think it's really even.
I think the sloth has the more muscular arms, but at the same time, the Therizinosaurus has those giant claws, which I think are its ace in the hole here. So I also think the Therizinosaurus would be slightly faster, but not. It could probably move its arms a lot quicker than the sloth. So I'm gonna give this one to the Therizinosaurus, but it's a pretty close one because at the end of the day, these are both a couple of heaping masses of lard, and I don't think this would be the most exciting fight to watch.
No.
Yeah,
But-
I think the Therizinosaurus would win as well, just because those claws are so long, and it would
Yeah.
just rip that sloth to shreds. And the sloth just wants to be on Ellen DeGeneres. He doesn't want to fight.
Nope.
He wants to
Okay.
snuggle with Kirsten Bell. Kirsten Bell.
Okay, Charlie.
It's no contest. It's the giant sloth. My reasoning.
Charlie,
Charlie,
before
I'm from the north.
me.
I
I
disagree
didn't
with
say
you.
my.
Charlie,
You're already yelling at me.
before we went on the air today, you straight up told me, "Oh yeah, I think I'm just gonna say yes for all the Ice Age creatures because I'm
Listen.
Charlie and I love to start fights."
I have a legitimate argument for this.
Okay, go
Okay,
Granted,
for
you
it.
left my
Charlie.
legitimate argument last
Charles
time, but hey.
Didymus.
So think about it. Therizinosaurus has the gadgets. He's got the claws. He's like the Batman. But the giant sloth has got the muscle. He's the Bane. Giant sloth is going to break his back like in The Dark Knight or that one movie.
Charlie, it's a sloth.
No. Point number 2. Look at this tongue on that thing. That's an intimidation factor. Brad. Stop it. And finally, Therizinosaurus, Scythe Lizard, sounds like communism to me, and I don't support communism here in America. Charlie's out here, guys.
Bye, Charlie.
After all those years of firing him, he finally just quit.
I think
Okay.
please. Again,
please.
like what you said, Billy, it's a toss up. Like I think they're really even. I don't know. I feel like the sloth would. I don't know what it is, but like my intuition's going with the sloth. I don't have all the scientific reasoning that Charlie
a
does.
sloth. It's a literal sloth.
Sometimes sloths get so tired they grab their arm as a branch and they fall to their death.
Well, this is a ground sloth, so I don't think it would do that.
Climbs up a tree, just falls backwards and smashes itself.
It's
Well,
the
he eats the
sand
tree.
fruit of Ice Age creatures.
Okay, well, that was the dumbest conversation I think we've ever
Brad
had.
hasn't answered yet.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he
Yeah, I
did.
did. The Therizinosaurus. I
Yeah,
agree with
he
Billy.
took your position.
So
It
it's a
was kinda
draw,
like this
second
and-
time.
Okay, cool.
At least the first one we all agreed. We're not enemies, right?
Actually, can I change my answer real quick?
All right, what we got next here,
Okay,
Billy?
so our next one we got
My
See,
boy.
Charlie, now you're going to be very conflicted about this one, Charlie.
No, I'm not.
So, next one here, we have Titanus versus Dilophosaurus. So Titanus has a bit of a nickname in the paleontological community. It's also known as a terror bird.
All right.
Because you see, in the Ice Age, there were some ecosystems that didn't have smilodons or dire wolves, so they needed a predator. So evolution decided it was going to have some fun and decided to make these giant ostriches of doom. So
Sometimes God thinks I play too much, you know?
Yeah.
So here we have the Titanus, a giant flightless carnivorous bird from the Ice Age. And this thing lives up to its name because it is a titan. It stands at 8 feet tall and 300 pounds. It also has giant muscular legs, which it could use to hold down prey, as well as run very fast. It could run at speeds exceeding 40 miles per hour, which is for a creature so big is very impressive. But anyway, it's meant to kill medium-sized animals, so more like deer and antelope than hunting the bigger creatures.
We should bring
But-
some to IUS.
Oh my gosh. It's called geese where you have them.
They're already here.
They're already here.
Just make them bigger.
Yeah, just pump some steroids
Life
into
finds
the
a
lake.
way.
Big bulky
yeah,
boys.
steroids wouldn't even be the worst thing that's in that lake, trust me.
Ooh.
Welcome.
No, okay, no joke. Real story. Around Christmas time, right before finals, I went down to the lake one day because it was a really nice day, so I just wanted to sit down there and do some studying. So I go over to that bench, the one that's like right on the lake shore, and some fool left a dead bass just right there on that bench.
Why?
I don't know. Like, I know there's like, you can
Threat.
fish in there, but the rule is that you can't
Warning.
keep anything. So I guess he was like, oh, well, I'm going to show them I'm not going to keep it, but I'm just going to leave it here on the bench. Like,
Maybe he forgot.
Boofus went
so you know what I
fishing.
did? I
They wanted
I
bass.
snapped off a tree branch and I rolled it into the water and gave it a traditional burial at sea.
Set on fire like a Viking funeral.
I love that.
It sunk.
Shoot a fire arrow.
Who knew dead fish sunk?
Sad.
I think they do.
It did. You gotta believe me, Charlie. It sunk.
Let's go dig out this body and find it.
It probably
past
already,
them, gone,
it's
like,
probably
guys,
already been
get
eaten by
my
a snapping
gear.
turtle. But anyway, so in addition to its giant claws to hold down struggling prey, the Titanus's greatest asset in a fight would be its gigantic beak.
Massive beak.
Yeah, its beak is huge, and it's very sharp, too. So it's meant to not only make nasty wounds, but this thing could snap bones with that beak. Modern-day vultures have a beak kind of like that, too, where they can dig deep into whatever they're eating, but they can also break off bones. Think of it like that, only on a much larger scale. So, Titanus is scary, and, you know what? Moral of the story, birds are scary.
You're right.
I got attacked by a goose last year here at IUS. I know.
Exactly. Titanus...
I have yet to get attacked by one.
Titanus has still
Wait.
got boys out here, man.
When is the nesting?
Soon.
Soon.
You don't see
Like
it
March,
coming.
April.
Okay.
You'll just walk out one day and see signs like, what's going on? And then you see one walking towards you like,
Yeah. Whenever they're
away from my
nesting,
birds.
since you're a freshman, you have to be warned. Whenever the geese are nesting, don't go to the lake.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if you're nowhere near a nest. If they see you, they will come for you.
Gotcha.
So,
I will not go to the lake.
Got to protect
watch
those
out
babies.
for the Navi parking lot in the back.
oh yeah,
They like that
That-
spot too. That's where I got
okay.
attacked.
that pathway that goes from the dorms to Nobview, you don't take
Funny
that when
story
they're
though.
nesting.
When I got attacked, I walked away, and a girl saw me almost get attacked. Decided I can do the same walk. I'll be fine. He just must not like that guy. She makes a walk and then gets attacked. I'm like, what are you doing?
I suggest we do some big game hunting during nesting season to take
But you
care
know,
of this problem.
Canadian geese are actually a protected species.
Really?
Canadians.
Well, it's funny
Canucks.
because we have plenty of them down here, but in Canada, where they're originally from, they're actually a critically endangered species.
Oh, so we
You
have
can have
so
him back,
many.
Canada.
Take them.
Look,
They don't like your country.
It was a fair trade because they were like, listen, you can have Avril Lavigne, but you also got to take all these geese.
Oh, boy.
So,
He was a Canadian geese. Said, see you later, boy.
but anyway, so let's move on to our dinosaur for this Ice Age matchup. The Dilophosaurus, the double-crested lizard.
My man.
Known as the
My man.
spinning
My man.
dinosaur from Jurassic Park, they were actually about twice the size of their Jurassic Park
Size of a
counterparts.
horse.
Standing at about 20 feet long and 6 feet tall, weighing about a ton. Dilophosaurus was a very scary creature, a true force to be reckoned with. A unique feature about it, other than the two crests that are on top of its head, which scientists still aren't entirely sure what purpose they served, but it had a really weird
Intimidation.
curved upper jaw. Scientists think that was just meant to hold down struggling prey if it ever got in there and decided it was gonna do something brave. It also had really, really dexterous hands. That just means they're really flexible, like very can hold on to stuff pretty easily. Also meant to hold on to strugglers, accompanied by very sharp claws. Dilophosaurus was also very agile for a dinosaur its size. Paleontologists regard this thing as a triple threat as far as predators go because it can claw, bite, and run. On top of that, it's also decently large, 20 feet long and 6 feet tall and weighing a ton. I definitely would not want to cross this thing on a bad day.
It's one bad mother trucker.
Language, Charles!
Trucker! It drives a truck. It's a hardworking, blue-collared worker. Check yourself.
But anyway,
Charles is starting a political revolution. I think we need to put him down right now.
No.
yeah, we have our combatants in place. Who do we have for this fight, gentlemen?
It's no contest.
You said that every other time.
This is serious, though.
You said that every time.
Charles is a
I
time
cannot wait.
traveler from the
I
Ice
can't wait to
Age.
hear his explanation for things.
Okay, Charlie.
Okay,
Tell us
okay,
who
you
would
wa-
win. Tell us who would win,
Yeah,
Charlie.
go
Let
for
me
it.
speak.
Silence him!
Okay. Okay, everyone's muted except for Charlie.
Thank you. Okay, so I think it's Dilophosaurus. First of all, because the fact it has hands, which the bird does not have, and honestly, it has the exact same things as a big bird. It's got the mouth that can bite and stuff. It's got the feet.
Big
that can
bird?
claw. Yes, it's a big bird. But it has hands to like slash at. But it's gonna be like squaw. And it's gonna be like cut your face like that.
What
Karate
was
chop.
that?
It's like squaw. They can't see what I did there. Squaw. That's what it makes. It's just gonna be like a Mr. Miyagi like slice, and then it's gonna be like a black screen with a little white line go through, and it's just gonna fall in half like an anime scene. And it's gonna win because it has
Teleport's
hands.
behind
There wasn't
you.
a lot of science
It's
behind
nothing
that one, by the
personal,
way.
kid.
Literally,
He was like, they have hands.
No, he has hands. That one does not have hands. He can claw from a distance. He's gotta kick him a little bit, or at least peck
Well,
his
he
face
can
at
reach
him.
down
Don't
with
touch
his
my
long
paper
neck.
again.
Well, you know, Charlie, you have one.
Get off my page.
She questioned it. I need to show her on the diagram.
Bradley, you have one too. Okay.
We gotta read
swear.
off Kirsten.
What's y'all's opinion? What's y'all's opinion?
Don't make me tell Curtis on you. But anyway.
Charlie.
Okay.
Mine is
so,
also the Dilophosaurus.
Better be.
I'm
you
not
know-
going to explain
my
it.
I honestly think this one could go either way. I think the Dilophosaurus has more methods of attacking.
Yes.
It
You
has
mean
the
hands?
teeth and the claws, and it's also more agile too. But I think the whole problem here is that if it got caught underneath the bird's feet, it would be game over.
Just claw the feet then.
I think the Titanus would probably win just because if it's able to get in with its beak, then it's gonna break that boy's bones. And it's gonna be lying on the ground, screaming, "But
Just spit
Charles
acid
said
instead."
I would win!
I have hands.
Charles said I would win!"
You lost today, kid. Doesn't mean you gotta like it.
So yeah, I think this one could go either way, but I'm gonna sway this a little bit more in the direction of the bird.
Another
Both
draw.
birds.
I think it's because you said your answer first and they were like, well,
Because it makes
can't do what Charlie says.
Okay, well.
This is
Oh.
discrimination.
Oh goody! I've been waiting for this one too.
Oh my gosh, what the heck? Sorry.
They're
Our
the same
next-
thing.
I've
No,
been
they're
looking
not.
forward to this.
Our next fight here, we've got Basilosaurus versus Mosasaurus.
Okay.
Basilosaurus wins
Now-
just because of its name.
Well, yeah, the
It is
name-
an emperor.
The name does mean king lizard, but
That's pretty. That's,
Basilosaurus was not a lizard or a dinosaur at all. It was actually a very early whale.
well,
Well,
Whale.
whale.
no, I meant like well, comma.
Welcome.
But anyway,
What?
This whale.
What?
it was a very early species
Why'd you say
of
that in the first place? Sorry.
It was a very early species of whale. And on top of that, it was very big. It was one of the first big whales that really set the stage for the whales we have today, coming in at about 60 feet long. Now, this was before whales really came into their own in terms of what they are today, so this thing was a lot more eel-like, a lot more flexible, per se. It could move through the water with a lot more grace and agility than, say, a modern-day humpback.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
But a whale is still a whale, and they weren't very fast. You see, they had a big, blubbery torso area, so...
It's not fat. It's just fur.
Big
And
basil.
on top of that, they weren't quite as aerodynamic as modern day whales because
gosh.
they weren't as well adapted for life underwater as other whales were. Because here's the thing about whales is whales have been around since the beginning of the Ice Age, but when they started out, they actually started out on land as these little wolf-like creatures that eventually made their way to the water and kind of evolved into a seal-looking thing, and then eventually evolved into the Basilosaurus creatures, which eventually evolved into the modern-day whales we have today. So Basilosaurus is still kind of a straggler from those wolf-like creatures, because you can't really see it here on the drawing, but they actually had these little tiny legs down by the end towards where their tails are that would have been useless. That's what's called the vestigial structure. There.
You can see it very clearly on this piece of paper.
That's the mosasaur.
You said aerodynamic.
Well, why are they should be organized differently.
You said aerodynamic.
Well-
I just imagine this thing trying to fly this little flipper so you're like, "Whoa."
He's been over here laughing the entire time you've been describing
Charlie,
this.
that's not even funny.
I think it's funny in my head. That's all that's
But
important.
anyway, since it was an early species of water-dwelling whale, it wasn't quite as adapted and wouldn't have been quite as aerodynamic as modern whales, even though it was a lot more crocodile eel-like and probably could have moved with greater ease, just not quite as fast. So its skull is very unique as far as whales go, because it still had a lot of leftover traits from its wolf-like ancestors. It was more crocodile-like than modern-day whales, and it had these really large, thick teeth. They were kind of like dinosaurs, meant to make those big bleeding wounds. Also, studies revealed, this doesn't really add anything, but the Basilosaurus chewed its food.
Like a proper gentleman.
I'm thinking this is the King K rule. We got it right here.
Oh my gosh.
What's in there, smash is going to dominate.
It also had very strong jaws, estimated bite force of about 3,600 psi.
That's pretty
So,
That's
A lot.
very scary creature, that
You right.
Basilosaurus. But anyway, let's get into the combatant here, the Mosasaurus. We've talked about Mosasaurs before. The thing is, there were a lot of different species of Mosasaur and a lot of different species of Mosasaurus, as it was. But for our scenario today, we're going to be sticking with Mosasaurus hoffmanni, which was the largest of the Mosasaur lineage from the end of the Cretaceous period. And as such, it was a biggin. This thing comes in at 56 feet long.
That's pretty big.
not as big as the other one, but
I mean,
a good competitor. Not much difference.
quite as big, just...
It's just 4 feet difference.
Shaved
It's
off,
small.
shaved off a little
It's
bit
like
of the
one
tail.
Pearson, you know?
Tiny.
Yeah,
But anyway,
Minuscule.
actually pretty accurate.
But anyway, little history lesson for you. Much like the whales we talked about a minute ago, the mosasaur family started out on land because they belong to the same family of lizards as Komodo dragons do. They're not dinosaurs; they're actually lizards. So this is the only non-dinosaur that's going to be fighting for the Mesozoic team tonight.
Okay.
So anyway, they come from the same family as Komodo dragons. But where Basilosaurus represents a pretty early stage in the whale evolution line, Mosasaurus hoffmanni was the very end. This was, for all intents and purposes, the perfect Mosasaurus, because there were no more after this.
Gotcha.
Because they went, they bit the dust.
So they weren't
They-
perfect then.
Well, you know, an asteroid will elevate a lower life form to a higher position, just like
How
that.
can the mice survive but not the giant whales in the ocean?
Keyword giant.
They hide.
But anyway, so I don't know what that is. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna turn the mics off and back. Oh,
Oh.
never mind. Okay,
All right.
Matt's probably doing something funky.
The
But,
ghost
Matt.
of Matt.
Sabotage. He's trying to sabotage
but
us.
anyway, so studies of the stomach contents of Mosasaurus suggest that these things hunted sharks among with other large sea creatures, even other mosasaurs, believe it or not.
Krakens.
Yeah, these things were pretty vicious with how they just ate everything in sight. They were also very agile. They were able to move through the water with speed and ease, probably greater than that of the Basilosaurus. They were a lot more aerodynamic, considering these were the last of their line. So anyway, let's get into it. I'm going to give this one to the Mosasaurus just because it's a lot faster and a lot more agile and a lot more well adapted to life underwater than the Basilosaurus would be. But I think it could go either way. It just really depends on who gets the nasty wound first. But given the fact that the Mosasaur has the slight speed and agility advantage, I'm going to give it to the Mosasaur. So,
All right, Charlie.
I'm gonna go last so I don't influence everyone else's decision.
Oh, okay.
okay.
All right, Kirsten.
I'm also going with the Mosasaur because I think the agility and the ability for them to move with a better ease in the water than the other one. I don't know how to pronounce it.
You're just reading off the scripts.
No, but I'm saying, I'm just saying
I'm just messing
what
with you. I'm just messing with you.
because I think both of them are pretty equal opponents, but I think the agility is what determines the two from winning. I don't know if that sentence made sense, but that's my conclusion.
Bradford.
All right. Do we have any data on what the Mosasaur, how much of their bite force was? Anything at all?
Well, I couldn't really find anything.
Okay.
It seems like, from what I found, these things' teeth were a lot more blade, a lot more spear-like.
Yeah.
So they were meant to just bite down and not let go. Like, they were meant to just kill things in one bite. So
Yeah, I think it's a tough one. I think I'm going to give the slight edge to the Mosasaurus just because of those teeth. But it's very much 50-50 because the Basilosaurus can bite down, you know. It's basically, you know, a sea wolf versus a sea Komodo dragon. And I got to stand with my wolf brethren. But since they're in the sea, I got to go with what's strong for the sea.
Gotcha.
Well, and it's also, like I said, the mosasaurs have been in the sea a lot longer than the whales at this point. So,
I will
Right.
ride it into battle, and I'll make a boat out of it.
Gosh.
All right, Charlie.
okay, Charlie.
I'm going to go with the Mosasaurus
Wow.
Dang!
for a very actual scientific reason.
Oh, here we go.
Serious
Alright.
this time.
Tell us about
Jason Momoa's abs.
I wish. I'm going to pick him because of his scientific name is Mosasaurus hoffmanni. And I like the actor David Hasselhoff, and he should never
Are you-
hassle the Hoffmanni.
it. Are you kidding me?
The Mosasaur brought down the Berlin Wall.
He did. David Hasselhoff did that. And also, it's got more aerodynamics and bigger, sharper teeth. You see, cut through the basal Basilosaurus.
I was about to be real angry if that was your only decision.
Because obviously,
because of the name.
the Basilosaurus doesn't know what he's doing water
Wow,
yet. So the hassle, the Mosasaurus hoffmanni, it's going against
You're
his
canceled.
nature.
Let's move on.
So, for the
Yeah.
first fight in here, since the very first one, it's passed unanimously. So,
Aha!
nice, nice. So, our
be
final
written.
fight for the evening. This is the big one right here: the T-Rex versus the woolly mammoth. Now, I believe it was Angus on Twitter who suggested to me that we put the T-Rex up against the Paraceratherium, which is the giant rhino thing I talked about earlier. And I thought about that, and I really thought that fight would just kind of be a stomp because the rhino monster didn't really have any horns or anything. It was just big. It didn't really have that much defense, and
okay.
it would have slightly stood a little bit taller than the T-Rex, but if the T-Rex got its jaws around the neck, it would be over. So I thought there wouldn't be a lot to talk about there. So I decided we're just going to put a toothy boy up against a woolly boy.
Two
Good
OGs.
The giant sloth could take it.
The giant sloth
So,
will bring down the
if we
T-Rex
wanna
and make
talk
it eat
about-
dirt.
If we want to talk about kids' movies from the 90s and 2000s, this is John Goodman versus Ray Romano right here.
Oh.
I like me some Ray
Deborah!
But anyway, so the woolly mammoth, the massive precursor to the elephants from the Ice Age. Everyone knows what a woolly mammoth is. It stands at about 13 feet tall and weighs at about 7 to 8 tons.
That's
Very,
a heavy boy.
very big boy, very big and very muscular. A lot more muscular than modern day elephants. Obviously, they had these two. Their biggest ace in the hole when it comes to a fight, as it were, would be their two gigantic tusks. Modern day elephants have tusks, but these take it to the next level. These tusks are about 9 feet long, and they curve upward and are very, very sharp at the end. So they were mostly made for fighting other mammoths, because obviously mammoths were huge, so they didn't really face any other predators like smilodons or anything. So they were mostly made for fighting other mammoths. But in a fight with a T-Rex, that would still be a pretty valuable asset to have. Now, I don't really know how tough those tusks would be because they'd be made out of ivory like modern day elephants, so I don't really know how tough ivory is. But they'd still be those could ruin a T-Rex's day right there.
Yeah.
And another low-key weapon that it has is its trunk. The trunk is very long and very muscular, and if modern-day elephants are anything to go by, these could lift cars as well as like whole trees to move them out of the way. So don't discount that trunk. So at the end of the day, the mammoth is a very big and very scary boy.
Yes.
But Neanderthals brought it down.
Well, yeah, because they were
That old Neanderthal, Austin Brokar, was doing
they
some
were all
big
just,
game
they
hunting.
they were there just like, hey man, Brandine, like, I know this is only the dawn of man and like hunting's just been invented, but what do you say? What do you say? You, me, and the boys go and sharpen a big tree into a point and go kill one of those big trunk things.
Trunk
We have
thing.
ourselves a nice barbecue.
We'll call up Cousin Bug, Uncle Boofus, Grandpappy Chungus, everybody.
Dear Lord.
You know,
But anyway,
Big
let's
Chungus isn't on this.
But anyway, let's get into the
So win all of
challenger. Let's get into the challenger here, the Tyrant Lizard King, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. We've talked about the T-Rex ad nauseum, so I'm just going to give it a quick run through. T-Rex is one of the largest carnivorous dinosaurs to ever live, standing at 46 feet long and 14 feet tall. Its skull is about 5 feet long, and it also is armed with 60 12-inch long teeth in its skull, which are made to crush bone. It has the strongest bite force of any land animal and could bite with over 12,000 psi. Some estimates put it at about 15,000 psi, but the typical ballpark estimate seems to be about 12 to 13, so we're just going to lowball it and say 12 for our discussion today. Now, it is rather intelligent for its size, with its intelligence being comparable to a modern-day cat, but elephants are pretty smart cookies too, so I don't really know if its brains would help it out too much in a fight with a mammoth. But anyway, okay, so they are in place. This is a tough one, but let's go ahead and get into who we think could win here.
Are we assuming that the
So-
woolly mammoth is by itself and doesn't have any of its buddies? It's big
Well-
Chungus bunnies.
Well, you know, the T-Rex is hunted in groups too, so if we put the mammoth in a group,
So
we'd
it's
have to
still
put the
kinda
T-Rex in a
equal.
group, so let's just do this a one-on-one
Gotcha,
thing
okay.
here. So, you know, I think this is a real toss-up. I think this one is really anyone's game, probably more so than any other one we've had on here, because I think one good blow from those tusks and the T-Rex is down, but if the T-Rex gets its jaws around the mammoth's neck or head or foot or anywhere, the mammoth is done for as
I don't
well.
think
So.
tusks are that sharp, though.
But it can swing its head around pretty
And with enough
aggressively.
force, it could definitely cause some damage with those tusks.
Whip it up
Yes,
on its side with
but it's
its...
so
Oh, here we
low,
go.
and the T-Rex is so much more higher. Like, it might be
Well,
like
only by
sweep
a
the,
foot,
might
isn't
be able
it?
to like sweep the leg. No,
Well,
but
to
the
be fair,
tusks
the
are still lower on the body though.
The T-Rex's neck would have been a lot higher than the
like
mammoth's tusks.
it might be able to sweep the
So,
leg probably, but
Right.
even then,
You know, I'm going to give this one a toss-up, but I think it's leaning a little bit more towards the T-Rex.
I agree.
Because
I agree,
and you
yeah.
also got to think about it this way: the T-Rex in its environment would have been used to fighting other creatures around its size.
That's true.
The mammoth wouldn't have fought anything other than other mammoths.
I feel like
So-
mammoths are more reliant on group like defense systems.
Form a
Probably.
shield wall.
Well, and
Drive
the
back the
mammoth,
T-Rex.
the mammoth has a lot of similar defenses to a Triceratops, which a T-Rex would be very used to fighting. And if the way T-Rexes hunted Triceratops is any indicator, if it got its teeth around those tusks, it could probably rip them off.
Sorry,
So
Snuffleupagus.
I'm gonna have to give this one to the T-Rex. But what are our thoughts, gents?
Snuffleupagus is going down. It's T-Rex all the way.
Okay, Kirsten.
Same. T-Rex is winning in my book.
You know, I think the boy, Big Chungus Rex, has claimed his victory. Chunga, 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 chunga.
Dead meat.
So the mammoth fought valiantly,
Yes.
but at
No.
the end of the day,
I think unless it's a one T-Rex and a group of mammoths.
yeah, but
think
then
it
we'd
would
have to
be-
put the T-Rex
I
in
know,
a group
I know,
too.
I'm just-
Well, how big are the
Situational.
groups? Like, I feel like a T-Rex
I
would have
don't know.
smaller group than a mammoth.
Well, yeah.
More than one
probably.
T-Rex is no good.
Well, more than
No good.
more than one T-Rex could take out a mammoth like that.
Yeah.
But
I saw the Ray Harryhausen movie, and the elephant lost that fight against the dinosaur.
yeah,
so,
Bonji.
yeah.
So confirmed. Thank you, Ray
Confirmed.
Harryhausen.
He did his research.
The king reclaims his throne.
Okay,
End of another chapter.
All right.
That about does it for our Let's Talk Dinosaurs Ice Age Fight Night. This was a really, really fun episode to do. So,
Quick question. Random last minute fight night. Who would win? Like 50 of the giant sloths versus 1 T-Rex?
probably the sloths if there were 50 of them. Good Lord, Charlie, what T-Rex stan fanboy planet do you think I live on?
I don't know. I just want to make sure.
There's 50 of them.
But there's
All right, let's go with 10 of the woolly rhinos versus 1 T-Rex.
I mean, probably the rhinos.
Yeah, they would knock it over.
They could
and
just all
trample
charge it at once.
how about
It's the charge of the
What are you
rodeo.
about to ask, Charlie? Please tell me.
oh I can't.
I don't want to know.
How about the whale on land against the T-Rex?
The T-Rex could just step on it.
A whole pack of Titanic.
I thought I was supposed to be the one making the stupid comments.
I don't know what's happened. I think, is it a full moon or something? Like, Charlie's turned into a were-moron.
Do you have any more questions?
After the show, we're fine.
Okay. All right.
So anyway, thank you guys very, very much for listening. This was a really, really fun episode to do. Thank you to Charlie for giving us the idea.
That was a good idea.
As
ruined this
always, as always, please follow our social medias. We are at Let's Talk Dinos on Twitter and at Let's Talk Dinosaurs on Instagram. Please, for the love of all that is holy, follow our Instagram. We
Please.
really don't get as much action on there as we do on Twitter. So please give us a follow on there and tell your friends. Just like, hey, you should totally listen to this obscure college dinosaur radio show that I listen to. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. Thank you very much to Brad for coming back here tonight.
Brad.
Yes.
Bradford!
Happy birthday, Brad.
Thank you. And thank you, Matt, for this glorious radio station.
This truly
Praise
is the
be.
house that Matt built.
He built this
Anyway.
house on rock and roll.
But no hair metal.
No,
But,
no hair metal.
Anyway, Charlie, would you like to plug your show?
Saturdays from 11 to 12, I have a show on the Horizon Radio called Heroes on the Horizon, where we talk about superheroes and stuff. And this week, we're talking about
Spider-Man!
Oh my god.
I need pictures. Pictures of Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is a menace!
I was not expecting that.
Get Peter Parker on the phone!
You're serious?
You serious?
I need pictures of Spider-Man!
Kirsten, bring me a violin.
But anyway, Charlie, please plug your social medias.
The Twitter is @on_heroes, and then the Instagram is heroes_on_the_horizon.
You know,
It's a horrible name. I'm sorry.
Just find Char.
Just type in the Heroes on the Horizon.
Just type in Heroes on the Horizon and you'll find it.
That's what I said. You silenced me.
Well, sorry! I
You
have
can't silence the people. Turn on the news already.
Okay, well, anyway, as
Charles.
always, thank you guys very much for listening.
Thank you.
I am Billy Reed.
I am Kirsten.
Sorry, Sandifer.
And I am Dank Swin.
And